I know many of you picked Rip Shirt Daddy Sephiroth as your first DPS character. He may seem easy to play, but there's a lot more to it. He is actually quite complicated, and you can do different tricks to increase his DPS more, which I will explain in this video. This video will cover everything you need to know about him, including his kit, equipments, teams, rotation, sequences, and more. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Starting with his kit. Calchero is quite similar to Gian, as you want to spend most of your time inside of his Resonance Liberation, so his basic attacks unfortunately are not used unless in the outer world. You may be familiar with basic attack, skill, basic attack, skill, basic attack, skill combo, but it is not efficient. The skill can be casted up to 3 times in a row, dealing electro damage. Each skill cast restores 4 Concerto energy. That is a total of 12 energy. In his Resonance Liberation state, Calchero will deal an initial instance of damage and enters into Rip Shirt Daddy mode. It is called Deathblade Gear state. While in this state, his basic attacks gets enhanced. This damage is still considered as basic attack damage. His dodge counters deal increased damage, which is considered as Resonance Liberation damage. It replaces his intro skill with Necessary Means, which does the same thing as his normal intro skill, but deals a lot more damage. It has a cooldown of 20 seconds, costs 125 energy, and restores 20 Concerto energy. Now let's move on to his Forte circuit. Calchero can hold up to 3 Cruelty stacks. Each Resonance skill hit gives 1 Cruelty stack. Casting a heavy attack while in possession of these stacks will consume these stacks and let him do a special heavy attack called Mercy, which deals higher damage than the normal heavy attack and restores Resonance and Concerto energy. In his Resonance Liberation state, the Cruelty points are replaced by Killing Intent. Each basic attack hit in his Liberation state restores 1 Killing Intent, which can be stacked up to 5 times. When he has 5 stacks, these stacks will be consumed and his next basic attack will be converted to Heavy Attack Death Messenger, which has a high multiplier and restores Concerto and Liberation energy. The Death Messenger damage is considered as Resonance Liberation damage and makes up for most of his damage. Calchero's Outrow skill leaves behind a phantom that deals damage. It has quite high multipliers. From his first inherent skill, after casting Heavy Attack Mercy, that is the heavy attack after 3 skill casts outside of his burst, Calchero gains 10% Resonance Liberation damage bonus for 15 seconds. The second inherent skill just reduces his damage taken by 15% for 5 seconds after the Heavy Attack Death Messenger. That is after the heavy attack after doing 5 basic attack hits in his Liberation state hits an enemy. And his other passives gives him crit damage and attack percent when unlocked. Moving on to his talent priority. As I mentioned earlier, most of Calchero's damage comes from the Death Messenger attack of his Forte circuit and his Liberation state. So both his Forte circuit and Liberation takes the top priority, followed by his elemental skill, followed by his basic attacks and intro skill. You can skip leveling his basic attack as his Liberation has different multipliers tied to it for the enhanced basic attacks. The intro can be skipped as well, as it basically gets replaced after using his Resonance Liberation. Moving on to his Echo set. The top 2 sets for Calchero are the Void Thunder that buffs electro damage and the Lingering Tunes that buffs attack percent. Both the sets are pretty good for Calchero. You can even mix and match 2-piece sets. For his Echo skill, this is the most important part. At first glance, the Thundering Maphys seems to be his best options as it provides the best buffs. 12% electro damage bonus and 12% liberation damage bonus. Most of the content creators also recommend this. However, this is actually his worst Echo skill, because the buff applies only when you land the final hit. This Echo performs up to 6 strikes and is extremely slow, nor can it be swap cancelled. This skill can sometimes cost you your entire run, so don't use it. We have other really better options. The Tempest Maphys is a much better than the Thundering Maphys, even though the buffs are a bit worse. But it doesn't cost you your entire run. Its animation can be swap cancelled as well. The Mech Abomination skill from the Lingering Tune set is also amazing. This skill provides 12% attack boost and basically has no animation, which makes it one of the best Echo skill. The Flawless is also a great alternative as it can be swap cancelled. More about the swap cancel in the rotation section. It deals some good damage and restores 10 Concerto energy, which is quite good. The Electro Predator is also a decent alternative as it has no animation. It summons the monster that fight alongside us and deals some nice damage. It has a cooldown of 8 seconds, which basically means you can have 100% uptime on it. With all that out of the way, the best set will either be Electro set with the Tempest Mayfie skill, the Lingering Tunes set with a Mech Abomination skill. Both are pretty close in damage. Even the Void Thunder set with Flautist is pretty close. If you don't swap out after Calchero takes the field. The Lingering Tunes can be slightly better due to how this set works. It keeps stacking the attack percent buff for 4 times as long as you are on field. In quick swappy playstyle, it gets a bit worse. The Electro set with Tempest is quite consistent, even in a quick swappy type of playstyle. So Tempest Mayfies with the Void Thunder, or the Mech Abomination with the Lingering Tunes, both the sets are pretty close. Use the one on which you have better echoes. The Void Thunder set with Flautist as your main skill is also not far behind. Before starting with the stats, let me first cover his energy requirements. For Calchero, try to get around 120 to 130% energy regen. It would be better if you can get the required amount of energy recharge from the Echo substats, which is quite easy as his energy requirements are not that high. But if you don't have any energy rolls on your substats, you can go with an energy recharge piece on the 3-cost Echo. Using Yang in the team can help reduce his energy requirements. For his Echo stats, you will need crit rate or crit damage on your 4-cost Echo. I recommend using a crit rate piece as getting crit rate is more important. There's no point in stacking crit damage if you don't have crit rate. And he gets some crit damage from his minor passives as well. And for the 3-cost Echoes, you can either go double Electro damage or mix and use 1 Electro damage and 1 attack percent Echo. Double Electro on 3-piece is about 4% better, but we all know how difficult it is to get them. And on 1-cost Echoes, you will need attack percent. Alternatively, you can use an Echo pattern like 44111, because for Void Thunder, we have 2 4-cost Echoes of the same set. One is Tempest Mayfies and the other one is Thundering Mayfies. Or if you are mix matching the Void Thunder and Lingering Tunes set, this Echo pattern can also be used. Crit rate on 1 4-cost Echo piece and crit damage on the other one. Or crit rate on both can also work if you lack it from your substats. And attack percent on the 1-cost Echoes. This pattern performs worse than the 43311 pattern, but it is a decent alternative as it is much easier to farm. For substat, energy regen until required, followed by crit stats, then attack percent, then resonance liberation or basic damage bonus or flat attack. Moving on to his weapons. You will be pleased to know that Calchero has some good 4-star weapon options that are not much worse than the 5-star options. You may think that the Verdant Summit is his best weapon as most of the content creators recommend it, but that's not the case. The Lustrous Razor is actually his best in slot. If you manage to get all the 3 stacks from its passive, it provides a lot of attack percent. Additionally, from its passive, it provides energy regen which lets you build more offensive stats from your Echoes. And it can provide up to 21% resonance liberation damage bonus, which is amazing for Calchero as his liberation damage makes up for 50% of his total DPS. After that we have Jian's signature weapon, which is only around 3% worse than the Lustrous Razor with all stacks. So if you have pulled this weapon, it is a good option and you can select a different standard 5-star weapon from the selection banner or from the free weapon selector box for your other characters. The Broadblade 41 at max refinement is his best F2P weapon option. It can be crafted and taken to its max refinement easily. However, you need to make sure you can keep his HP above 80% to maintain the buff uptime, so it can get inconsistent if the opponent is very aggressive. The BP weapon Autumn Trace is a great alternative. It provides crit rate, which is very useful. It is more consistent than the F2P weapon, so it is practically better. Helios Cleaver is another great alternative as it provides a lot of attack percent. Helios Cleaver doesn't have any annoying restrictions like the Broadblade 41, so it can be a better option. And lastly, for the 3 stars, you can use the Guardian Broadblade or Broadblade of Night as placeholders till you get the better options. Moving on to his team comps. Unfortunately, the best team of Calchero is currently not available. Once Yinlin comes out, which is in few days, his best team will be Calchero, Yinlin, and a support, preferably Verena. Verena can be replaced by Baiji if you don't have her. Jiangxin is currently the best buffer for Calchero as her out row provides a huge resonance liberation deepen. This is amazing for Calchero as his liberation damage makes up for 50% of his total damage. On top of this buff, she provides other utilities like crowd control, shields, and some heals. Mortefi is also a great character to use as a sub-DPS. His heavy attack damage buff is not utilized here, but he makes up for it with his good off-field damage. Sanhua is a decent option as she provides basic attack damage deepen, but as basic attack damage makes up for around 25 to 27% of Calchero's DPS. She is worse than Jiangxin. However, she is a good alternative if you don't have Jiangxin. Don't invest too highly on her or Jiangxin, as you will be switching them out with Yinlin soon, if you do plan to get her. Baizhi is a similar option to Verena for damage deepen and heals. Yang Yang provides crowd control and energy restoration, which is quite good. Here are some of his team examples. Calchero, Jiangxin, Verena. Calchero, Mortefi, Jiangxin. Calchero, Sanhua, Baizhi. You can also run Calchero with a secondary DPS who can be played with a quick swappy type of playstyle like both Havoc or Spectro MC, Mortefi, Sanhua, etc. Havoc characters are great as they can hold the Dreamless that can be swap cancelled. Now that we know his best equipments and teams, let's go to his rotations and combos. Just a quick reminder, if you are enjoying this video so far, do consider supporting my channel by liking and sharing the video and subscribe to stay tuned. This section is going to be quite long, but make sure to watch it till the end as I will be also touching up on some other ways to maximize his DPS. Let's first start with the basics. We earlier took a look at his kit, and now let's see how this all comes together. I will first start with his combo, then move on to team rotation. His own combos are quite simple. The first one is the Elemental Skill combo, 3 skills into a heavy attack, and the other one is Resonance Liberation, then basic attack spam. Now let me show you his team rotation for casual players. I will be first showcasing the Tempest Mayfie's Echo rotation. Sadly, I don't have Jiangxin, so I will be using Calchero, Sanhua, and Verena. You can check out my Verena guide for her detailed rotation. So I first start by filling Verena's Concerto energy by half or more. Then switch to Sanhua and do the same. Fill her Concerto energy bar by half or more. Then you can go to Calchero and use 3 skill and a heavy attack. If the enemy is too aggressive, you may not be able to complete this combo. But it's okay. Just make sure that you can get his ult back on time. Then swap to Verena and fill her Concerto energy bar completely by using her skills and ultimate. Verena's ultimate can be skipped if it is not ready. Make sure to use her Bell Echo skill as well. Then I directly swap to Calchero, triggering his intro. Then use his Echo skill and swap cancel it by going to Sanhua. Use her skills and heavy attack for filling up her Concerto bar. Before switching out, I use her Echo skill, which is Impermanence Heron, and swap cancel it by switching to Calchero. Use his Resonance skill once to get a stack of the Void Thunder set. Then use his Liberation and basic attack spam. Using the Resonance skill once before the Liberation gives 1 stack of the Void Thunder set, and the other stack is gained from the first Death Messenger cast. Even though the Death Messenger's damage is considered as Liberation damage, but it is still a heavy attack. So casting it gives a stack of Void Thunder. For the Mech Abomination Echo, the Echo swap cancel of Calchero isn't necessary. You can swap directly to Sanhua after Verena. Use Sanhua's skills and fill her Concerto. Use the Heron Echo skill and then swap cancel to Calchero. Use his Echo skill. Use his Resonance skill, then Liberation, and then basic attack spam. However, you can swap directly to Calchero after Verena, then again back to Sanhua. Use skills and Echo and swap again to Calchero for double intro skill cast. This rotation will be much better after his first Liberation cast as it buffs his intro skill. And if you are using the Flautist Echo skill, use it at the end of your rotation. The rotation will go the same, except you won't be casting the Echo skill at the start, but at the end. When you use the Flautist Echo skill, hold it for a short while and swap to your next character. This will swap cancel this skill. And by the time you use the Echo skill, Calchero's Concerto bar will be filled and his outrow will be activated, dealing a huge chunk of damage. I am pretty sure that Jiangxin can follow a similar rotation. There are various rotations you can do. This is just a general example. Just make sure to swap cancel echoes with long animations, while also making sure you have all the necessary buffs given to Calchero. If you didn't know, you can swap out Calchero during his ultimate without ending his ultimate state. Calchero's Death Messenger has quite a long animation. You can swap cancel it by switching to your secondary DPS, so you can go like use his Liberation. Then the next hit will be the Death Messenger. During the animation of the Death Messenger, you quickly swap into your secondary DPS, quickly deal some damage. Then go back to Calchero, then again during the next Death Messenger cast. Swap out to secondary DPS, deal some quick damage. This helps to keep Calchero safe as he is vulnerable during the Deep Messenger cast. However, it needs precise timing. There's actually a video on Bilibili showcasing a quick swappy Calchero Yunlin team. It goes something like this. First, the user fills up their ultimate skill and concerto energy bar, then start with Calchero intro, then skill, then ultimate into his Death Messenger. Immediately swap cancel Death Messenger into Yunlin. Cast Yunlin skill and basic. Swap to Calchero. 5 basic attack. Death Messenger and swap cancel to Yunlin. 2 basic attacks. Again switch to Calchero. 5 basic attack and last Death Messenger. Then swap cancel it by going to Yunlin. Use her skill, swap back to Calchero. Echo and outrow to Yunlin. It would be better if you just see the video linked in the description. The Death Messenger swap cancellation really pushes Calchero off his limits and can make his DPS much higher if done correctly. But it is extremely difficult as you have to do all this while also having to dodge enemies' attacks, which can get very frustrating and lead to less DPS. So for most players, I would recommend just sticking with the normal rotation. And lastly, moving on to his sequences. Calchero has got some decent sequences. The S1 just provides some resonance energy, which reduces his energy requirements. His S2 increases his resonance skill damage bonus by 30% for 15 seconds after casting his intro, which is not that useful. Would have been better if it was liberation damage bonus. The third one increases his electro damage bonus by 25% in his liberation state. The fourth one provides team-wide 20% electro damage bonus for 30 seconds after casting his outrow. This sequence is not utilized much now, but after Yunlin's release, it will be a very strong sequence. The fifth sequence just increases his intro skill damage by 50%, which is decent, and his best sequence is obviously the last one. With every Death Messenger cast, he will summon 2 phantoms, each dealing electro damage equal to 100% of Calchero's attack. This is considered resonance liberation damage, which means it will be buffed more with all the liberation damage bonus that we get on Calchero. And Calchero can do 3 Death Messenger during every ultimate window, so these phantoms can be summoned thrice. His early sequences are not that good. He starts to get some good upgrades from his S3. And with this, I will end this video. I have made build guide for other characters as well. You can find their links in the description. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more Wuthering Waves content. Thanks for watching.